deceiving you. I am not alone this time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jimmy Faluca, and this right here is Frank, and we are live together for the very first time. Talk Wrestler Jimmy Frank. There we go.
Mega power.
Yeah. Now, Frank and I were just, we decided we wanted to go live together for the first time, and we want to discuss something that took place not too long ago, which is the Chris Jericho podcast, right, Frank?
Oh, man.
Talk about riveting television. Hard-hitting questions, Frank.
Yeah, so many people didn't understand why it was bad or why people complained that Jericho did the podcast.
It's not hard to understand why. It was basically Chris Jericho and John Cena stroking the company. That's basically what it came off. It came off as that to me. I almost wish I could have got my 57 minutes back.
Yeah.
That's 57 minutes of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah, even Austin came out and said, "Oh, there's no heat," but after that,
he's just saving face.
Yeah. This guy's got to work, and he can't start a war with the WWE. But
please, Austin carried that company on his back and took them out of the wilderness into the promised land and helped them beat the greatest heel turn in the history of wrestling, which was Hogan. I mean, anybody else in Austin's position would have failed, Frank.
Oh yeah, but they just want a company, man, and you can see Jericho's been.
Oh God!
He's been towing the company line with that ridiculous thing that he said about Reigns before WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, apparently when Reigns comes out, it's like Beatlemania. That popular. To any of you who are out there that are Beatle fans, like I am, Frank, do you like the Beatles?
Yeah, but when Beatlemania came out...
No, but I'm talking about the magnitude of their popularity.
Yeah, Beatlemania was wherever they went...
Worldwide.
Wherever they went, there was just massive crowds rioting, and women fainted. There was hundreds of women would faint.
And it was nothing but positivity.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Beatlemania was nothing but positivity because people loved their music. They loved the way that the guys would perform. They were all good, every single one.
It was just a phenomenon.
It was a phenomenon. And is Roman Reigns a phenomenon?
He's not a phenomenon. He's not taking over.
He got a good reaction on SmackDown. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go as far as to say he was not even Hulkamania. I could say in '84 and '85
there was nothing bigger than Hulk.
Before when the first WrestleMania was going on, that was like a Beatlemania. Hulk Hogan was on every TV show, almost on every magazine. Anytime you turned on TV,
everybody loved Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
He was on every TV show. Entertainment Tonight, Good Morning America.
You could tell how nervous Cena was when he was being asked about the steroids. You could see his body language.
He's always been asked that. Chris Jericho tossed him the soft questions. John Cena's been asked about steroids 1,000
and
times.
What made me laugh was when they got into the discussion of the heel turn, of how the people that boo him now would only turn around and cheer him. To me, that is just such a...
Not necessarily.
That is such a convoluted corporate answer because I can tell you, personally, John Cena turned heel. I would enjoy booing him. I don't enjoy booing him like I enjoyed booing Triple H. I don't enjoy booing him the way I enjoyed booing Randy Orton. I don't enjoy booing him the way I enjoyed booing Ric Flair. Because when all those guys were heels, they were heels. See... Some of the comments that gets mentioned on the page is that he's already a heel. What do you want? No. Let Frank and I explain to you what a heel is. A heel is someone that does cowardly things, cheats to win, runs away from the heroes, and basically does clean jobs to whoever his opposition is. Frank, could you care to elaborate?
I always say he's not an anti-hero. He's an anti-heel. Like Steve Austin was a bad guy who did heel things and got cheered. Cena's an anti-hero, anti-heel. He's a good guy who does good things and gets booed.
But see, there's a problem with that, though. Especially considering that he's the face of the company. Because I don't care what anyone says. Seth Rollins may have the belt, but Cena's still their number one guy. That hasn't changed.
Yes, he's still... he's in the launch position. If Seth Rollins breaks his leg tomorrow, God forbid, Cena will step in and win and carry that belt.
And the problem is this. And you look at history. Bruno Sammartino. We'll go as far back to Bruno. Universally over. Everybody loved Bruno. Sold out the Garden for, 8 years in a row?
Yeah.
Bob Backlund was the champion for 5 years. He wouldn't have been champion for 5 years if he wasn't doing good work.
Yeah, well, people, complained about. Some people complained about him. He was like a little boring. It was. But the guy, you go back and watch his matches. The guy
delivered. Guy delivered, and that's all that really matters. Fucking, yeah, Frank's gonna get his hands on that. Hulk Hogan, was not the most technically sound guy in the world, but the fact of the matter is, Frank, anytime the guy was out there, he was the most over guy in the room. No one got a bigger reaction than Hulk Hogan back in the 80s.
Hulk Hogan, that started in the AWA.
Yes.
And then he was supposed to beat Nick Bockwinkel,
but Vern Gagne wanted to get any money Hogan was getting from Japan, and Hogan wasn't going to let that happen.
They had a disagreement, so Vince McMahon brought him in, and I remember that was when I first started watching wrestling. Hulk Hogan would come out to help the heroes who were getting beat up by the heels. He would help Bob Backlund when the Samoans were double teaming him, and the crowd went nuts.
Hogan was popular long before he got to the WWF.
Yeah. The crowd would go apeshit. Well,
and let's go to somebody else. Bret Hart, who superseded Hogan. When he was a top guy, the fans loved him. Fans absolutely loved Bret Hart. Following that, you had Shawn Michaels, who really wasn't necessarily over. That's why his reign at the top didn't last long. I mean, don't get me wrong. Shawn Michaels was popular, but more people hated him than liked him.
He was like a tweener, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, because a lot of the guys knew, a lot of people knew that Shawn Michaels was a politicker. They really didn't care much for that. And it was clear as crystal back then that Shawn had problems.
Yeah, he was on pills and he was on coke.
But what followed Shawn Michaels? Stone Cold Steve Austin, who he's not even in my top 10, but to me he's the greatest that ever lived.
Well, for a while they were going back and forth between Bret and Yokozuna and Psycho Sid.
But once it was on Austin, that was it.
He ran with it.
He ran with it, and I'll tell you something else. Austin and his co-face of the company, The Rock, should be, and I don't know how this ever gets lost in the shuffle, should be clear indications, Frank, that when you listen to your audience, good shit happens. Because Vince McMahon wanted Steve Austin. I don't know if you realize this. Vince McMahon wanted Steve Austin to be the number one bad guy, and he wanted Rocky Maivia to be the number one good guy. But what happened?
They switched places.
And why did they switch places, Frank?
Because the fans wanted it that way.
Okay, so the fans wanted Steve Austin as the hero, and they hated Rocky Maivia. So the WWE, having sense at that time, did what the fans wanted, and what did you get out of that? Rocky Maivia turned into The Rock,
right?
Which does
you don't try to put a square peg into a circle all the time. They teach you that in nursery school.
Yeah, well,
it's like
I guess stuff like that gets lost in the shuffle when you're the only game in town. You think you could fit the square into the circle.
They just don't care. They know that there's no other alternative, and
it's like that exactly how Frank just put it. It's like they just don't care anymore. And
they care. It's just they
don't care enough.
They're milking Cena for all he's worth, and they want to just keep milking him and have a smooth sailing to the next guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, but can you really say it's been smooth sailing for him?
No,
and that's the problem.
But eventually there's gonna be a breaking point where every audience is gonna stop booing him. And, 80%. And, the worst thing is going to be he's not going to have a reaction at all.
See, I would love that. I would love for him to come out to just crickets. Because that would send the message. Because apparently we've gotten to the point where if you boo someone, it's a good thing. Which I don't understand because at WrestleMania 13, and I will always use this example, and I don't care who gets tired of it. At WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold went in as the villain and Bret Hart came in as the hero. But when the fans booed Bret Hart, how long did it take for him to turn heel? One night.
Right.
How long did it take for Steve Austin to turn babyface? One night.
It happened, yeah. But even Bret, he was a little bit of a hardhead when it came to that. He was Canada's hero, so he was actually a hero, a babyface in Canada and a heel in the United
but that's
States.
Understandable because in Canada the Harts are revered, but for the majority of the time they're in the United States.
Right.
And the majority of the time, Bret Hart was portraying the heel. And I think that they should have done the same thing with Cena in the aspect of when he's in front of these hostile crowds, heel up. When you're in front of a positive crowd, play to it.
All you got to do is when you're in a hostile crowd,
insult them.
And he gets the other guy down, and they're booing. All he's got to do is go like that to the crowd. That's a heel act. It's like, fuck you. It's like, you can't see me. Ha ha ha.
But that's the whole point. None of us have asked him to turn full-fledged heel where he shits on the kids, because if it's that serious where the kids will cry and they'll do...
All he's got to do is acknowledge the people booing him and play up to that.
And stop ignoring it. Because that's just insulting.
See, that's a clever thing. You could be a heel to the people who boo you, and still, after you do that to the people who boo you, after you win again for the 1,000th time, you could go and see little Johnny and give him a hug and
now, ladies and gentlemen,
and it's a heel.
Do you see the way Frank is talking here? Because the both of us, who are intelligent human beings, recognize that the whole Cena thing is bullshit. Because in any other era, this character would not stay the way it is.
It's not only about Cena. It's about
the overall presentation of the product.
Right. It's about that there's no other alternative. And
I'll tell you what, though, I can tell you this, and we'll springboard into something else on this one, because enough with the Jericho podcast, because I can't talk more about that garbage, because Jericho in the last few weeks has just made a complete about face with me, telling the fans that they should like Roman Reigns, telling the fans to shut up, telling the fans to go along to get along. No wrestler has any right to tell any fan who they should and should not like. That is up to you as a consumer.
He's playing the part of the shill. The shill is the guy who makes you think. He'll say something or do something to make you go along with it, to make you go along with the ruse. You know, you ever see...
Listen, we respect Chris Jericho as a competitor. The guy obviously had a legendary career. The guy busted his ass his whole life, but what he's doing right now is just a load of crap.
He wants a place with WWE. Obviously, see, these people are so scared because there's only one place in town to work, and if they get on the shit list with WWE, they're out of luck. Where are they gonna go? TNA.
That's why Steve Austin,
Jeff Jarrett's promotion,
which hasn't even come off the ground yet.
I mean, come on.
Ring
of Honor, they have,
which they're actually getting themselves a TV deal. Which,
but I mean, it's like
but it doesn't really make much of a difference.
You want to go from 70,000 fans to
700.
Yeah, come on, man.
But enough with the Jericho podcast. Frank and I were talking on our way here, and we were discussing the mid-card championships because after WrestleMania, it became apparent that what we suspected was actually so, that they're going to start taking these mid-card titles seriously. Wow, after all this time, they're actually going to try with these mid-card championships, which it shouldn't have ever gotten to that level to begin with, Frank. Do you agree?
Of course not, but I don't know, we've seen it before. They've raised people's hopes with, maybe Cody Rhodes brought back the white belt, and we thought it was
that would have been a great...
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Actions will speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
These guys have to hold the belt at least 6 months, win every time on SmackDown and Raw, and
if they do lose, it's got to be by just DQ or count.
Yeah, and have great matches on the pay-per-views. Great matches.
But I think that the mistakes that they've made with Cena, the one mistake they've made so far during his title reign is that they fed Dean Ambrose to him, which was a mistake.
Oh, well,
that was a mistake. Yeah. You feed him the Fandangos. You feed him the Stardusts. You feed him these guys that have no steam. You don't feed... Same thing with Bryan. Bryan really shouldn't have had his first title defense against Ziggler because Ziggler's a guy that has steam and they should be doing something with him.
Well,
unfortunately, listen, I love Dolph Ziggler. He's one of my favorite guys, but I have accepted the fact they ain't never going to do nothing with him. They ain't never going to do nothing with Dolph Ziggler. It ain't going to happen. The only reason he got that Survivor Series moment was because Roman Reigns was injured, right or wrong.
Yeah. If anything, I think they should maybe build up another belt, the tag team belts. Guys like Ziggler and who are floundering and not really going anywhere, make a tag team. See,
I wanted them to... They were starting to do something with Ryback and Ziggler, the big guy and the little guy.
Yeah, that would be...
That would have been great, because those are two of my favorite guys, and can you imagine... Seth Rollins is the world champion. Bryan's the Intercontinental champion, and Ziggler and Ryback have tag team titles.
Yeah,
I would be totally okay with that.
That would be an unstoppable tag team.
Because you got power and speed, technical ability, and brute force as a team.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah. All these singles guys who are just not. They have no plans for them, and they have no direction. Make them a tag team. Get
and just what you just said reminded me of what we were saying when we were at CBS. When Bryan loses the Intercontinental title, which he will, everyone loses their belt at some point. What is your plan going forward with him?
All right, but what is the plan? What you got to have a plan. What are you going to do? Just take the belt off him? What's going to happen? He's just going to show up on Raw and just have meaningless matches.
See, that has been what my fear is because, and listen, you notice I'm not complaining as much about Bryan anymore on the page because it's pointless. They won. The WWE won. They got what they wanted. They cooled off Daniel Bryan. Why they would do that is beyond me. You got 5 sports teams doing his thing when they score and win. Metallica's came out about how much they like this guy. They could have made a shit ton of money off of him, and they put him. He has, in my opinion, the worst comeback story of a main event talent I've ever seen. Name one that's worse.
Oh, well, listen, I've been saying for the longest, if you're not going to go all the way with him, put the IC belt on him, the US belt on him, and keep him strong. That way, it keeps fans like you happy that at least he has a belt and he's doing something. He's doing something.
But my problem with that, Frank, is that he shouldn't just be doing something. Okay. He has been over to a level that very few guys.
All right, but I'm saying if he's not going to be in the heavyweight picture, would you rather him having the belt, the IC belt?
I would much rather him.
Or would you rather him not having IC belt and doing comedy acts with somebody else? Right. So keep him strong as a champion, IC belt, and
see, my thing with Bryan's this. I haven't loved a wrestler this much since The Undertaker. That's a big stretch. Undertaker and Daniel Bryan. They are not similar almost at all. But they do have 2 similarities that drives me to be on their side. They are great performers. And they always put the business before themselves. They never put themselves first. See, one of the things I think that frustrates WWE with Bryan is he don't give a shit. He does not play politics at all. You hear that consistently from guys that have hired him, guys that have worked with him. He doesn't play the political game. Because I can guarantee you if he did play the political game, he would have been in the main event this year.
His thinking is,
I'll just outperform everybody else.
He's not going to complain. Whatever they give him, he's going to do the best job, and he'll get over it. So far, he has. But I mean, maybe he should. He's not going to ruffle feathers. He's basically going to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. So. And
that's the thing, some people, and then you have these people that are saying, "Oh, good, he has the Intercontinental title. He's where he belongs."
Well, no, but at least he's doing.
No, but that's the stigma that annoys me. Is that can he be the Intercontinental champion and run with it? Of course he can. I have no problem with him being the Intercontinental champion, but the fact of the matter is, at some point or another, he's got to get that belt back.
Listen, only one guy could be the man, but that doesn't mean everybody else has to be thrown in the garbage. You have to keep.
Yeah, but after having that with 10 years for Cena, it's hard. It's hard to
even Cena. So even Cena, if he can't have the belt, he's got to do something where he stays relevant. But that's the whole tricky thing of keeping everybody relevant.
See, now honestly, if you want to, because people like Frank have been telling me for a long time that they want that Shield triple threat match at WrestleMania. A lot of people felt it should have happened this year. A lot of people felt it should have happened last year. Now, let's say they go with that at WrestleMania. That means Bryan's out of the main event again.
Well,
but
that's not a main event match.
But
Shield.
No, I'm talking about that closing WrestleMania for the world title. If that is the main event.
For what? For the triple
threat? For WrestleMania, yes.
But they're not going to have a... For the belt, you mean?
Yes.
You mean Seth Rollins is champion?
Seth Rollins is the champion. Apparently Reigns is going to win the Rumble again. And Ambrose is going to cash in Money in the Bank. He's going to cash in Money in the Bank way in advance, letting them know I'm cashing in at WrestleMania.
So you're going to have it...
So it'll be a 3-way. Now, I think that Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble again in Philadelphia is...
Oh, my God.
You don't want to do that.
You mean next year's Rumble is in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Oh, man. They're gonna riot. They're really gonna riot.
Now, my thing is this: the Shield triple threat match. If you really want to do something with it, do it at SummerSlam, or do it at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Do it at a Big Four event. I don't think that triple threat match belongs on anywhere other than a Big Four pay-per-view. They should do it at Survivor Series because they got to build Survivor Series back up again.
Yeah, do it at Survivor Series.
That would actually make sense. You want to rebuild this year, 2015, should be a year of rebuilding the things that you have damaged. You damaged the mid-card titles. You've already gone on a good track to rebuild them. I told Frank earlier, I would do away with all these gimmick pay-per-views. The Hell in a Cell pay-per-view should not be in existence because you should not know when you're going to get a Hell in a Cell match.
They're just trying to cash it off the name.
But do they really?
Yeah, but now you don't. Yeah, now you
they don't really cash in on those names because the fans know they're going to get it. Now, if there's no Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and just going back in time like by a year, Frank. Okay, Triple H and Daniel Bryan are still feuding even after WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan gets screwed out of the world title. The next night, he's looking for revenge, but he gets beat up by the Authority, and Triple H just grabs his bloody face. Hell in the Cell.
That's okay.
Now, no, it's not happening. I'm going back in time. Like, let's say they did that, and there was no Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Can you imagine the buzz there would have been?
Oh, of course.
If it was Triple H and Bryan in the Cell? Or Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Let's say there was no Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and you were heading into Survivor Series, and Dean Ambrose has Seth Rollins hostage, and he says, unless you heed to my demand, I'm going to snap your neck. And says, fine, I'll have whatever match you want. Thank you, Seth. I'll see you in Hell in the Cell. Big pop. Okay, it shouldn't be in October. Oh, it's October, time to bring the cell down. Shouldn't be, it's December, time to break out the tables, ladders, and chairs.
Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, they did have a good
Hell in a Cell match, yes.
It's not a Hell in a Cell match. It's just a steel cage match. All it is, it's just a steel cage match with...
See, but Hell in the Cell, in my book, is the best gimmick match WWE has.
It's a Hell in a Cell is a steel cage match on steroids. It's really it is. It's a steel cage match amped up 10 times. That if you thought a steel cage match back in the day was the ultimate. That's
how the feuds ended.
Yeah.
Magnum TA and Jesus Christ, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, Jimmy Snuka and Don Morocco. That's how feuds ended in a cage.
So now you how do you one up a steel cage?
You put a roof on it. You make it to where they can't get out.
Right. Nobody could get out. The only way is to
beat them so bad the way you pin them or you make them tap out. And to this day, there has been no submissions in Hell in a Cell.
Never, right?
Think about that. Every Hell in a Cell match is ended by pinfall, which, honestly, that's how it should end.
All right. But anyway, a Hell in a Cell is a gimmick, over a gimmick match. It's a steel cage gimmick match.
But to me, I always loved the Hell in a Cell for the simple fact that it was the match you did to settle scores.
Right, and that's the
match. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, and Mankind. Those type of matches where, okay, this feud's been going on for a while. Even Undertaker and Randy Orton, which, it started at WrestleMania 21 and it continued all the way till December.
Right, and
long-term booking on a SmackDown show. Think about that. When was the last time you had a feud exclusive to SmackDown go from WrestleMania to December? When's the last time you had that?
It was a slow burn, and sometimes that worked.
Hell, to me, the greatest feud in the history of SmackDown, Edge versus The Undertaker. It started on my birthday, May 11th, 2007, and it ended in August of 2008. Think about that.
You could do that.
That's a long feud, and I was emotionally invested. Edge cashed in on The Undertaker, won the belt. The Undertaker rose from the grave, and Edge screwed him again. Then The Undertaker won the Elimination Chamber match. He finally got Edge one-on-one at WrestleMania, and he beat him. Then Edge enacted his rematch clause. Taker not only beat him, he brutalized him with that choke. And then at Extreme Rules, One Night Stand, whatever the hell they call it, Edge put The Undertaker out of WWE, and because Edge pissed off Vicky Guerrero brought The Undertaker back, and they had a Hell in a Cell match, the first Hell in a Cell match of the PG era with no blood, and the match was incredible. That match is a clear indication that you can have violence in a PG product.
Yes, and it also something slow like that. It makes you want to tune in every week.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen next? What is Edge going to do this week?
Is The Undertaker going to pop up again and take him down? See, that's the kind of feuds that you need. Now, back to the original point. To me, if you really want to build up this Intercontinental title and you want Bryan to have a story so that way you don't have to worry about putting him in the main event next year, here's an idea for you. Have Daniel Bryan defend the shit out of that Intercontinental title, hold it till WrestleMania 32, and lose it to Kenta.
Somebody, the next guy.
The next guy that's going to carry that belt and is going to really, he's going to carry it with pride. Or you could have Bryan lose it to Finn Balor. Any of those guys that is going to carry who's part of the future, because let's be honest, that NXT roster they have is not going to stay down there for long. Finn Balor is not staying down there for long. Kevin Owens ain't staying down there for long. Sami Zayn stayed down there under his own accord. Kenta should not be staying down there for very long.
You can't hold down talent. You can't.
No, you cannot.
But I always say it until they step out through that curtain for the first time.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Look at Adrian Neville.
All right, well, what has he done? Come on, he's only had 2 matches.
Yep. Yeah, but the thing is, Adrian Neville, in his first appearance on Raw, the crowd went nuts. The week after that, when he faced the champion, the crowd was into that match.
Oh, yeah.
And you notice what they did? They protected him. He did not lose clean to the champion. They had J&J Security interfere on Seth Rollins' behalf.
Seth Rollins, he's playing up the ultimate chicken shit.
He's playing up the Triple H / Edge heel, which has worked and will work forever. That has always worked and it always will.
But yeah, as far as these NXT guys, until they step out there and they let's see what happens.
Who do you predict is going to connect the most with them? See, me, I'm going with Finn Balor. I think he's got something that when he steps out in front of that live audience, the crowd's going to take to him.
We'll see. You know how WWE is. They always change these guys, and who knows? Like I said, until they step out there and they go 6 months to a year, it doesn't matter what they've done before or how good they were or how bad they were.
Let's hope that, Vince has enough faith in these guys to let them do what brought them to the dance, because they let Kenta come in. They let Kenta come in, and he's using his strong.
Finn Balor going to be called Balor or just Finn?
Finn Balor is a good name. Kenta was a good name, but they changed it to Hideo Itami, which was fine. I had no problem with it.
Is he going to be known as Hideo or just Itami?
Itami, they could end up just calling him Itami, but the thing is, Itami in Japanese means pain. Think about that. But, okay, the changing of the names...
I'm joking.
No, but the changing of the names, like Neville, I don't mind that they just call him Neville. It really doesn't bother me. But what Vince has to do, and I know this is probably too much for his old ass to take, he's got to take these guys that Triple H is handing him and not change them. Leave them as they are, because you saw that video on YouTube when Kenta hit Tyler Breeze with that GTS. That crowd in that building went ballistic because it's Kenta's move. Kenta's the one that made it. And when he did it, I haven't seen a reaction like that in a long time. And it was only 5,000 people in that room, but it felt like it was 50,000. Because these guys can create that kind of excitement. They're that good. The only thing, like Frank was saying, you just got to give these guys the ball and let them run with it.
If they have true talent, you can't stop true talent.
Can't stop true talent. But that's going to do it for this segment, guys. Frank will be back with our next and final segment. We'll be right back.